Good evening. Welcome to this edition of the Evening Review Show. My name is Jemima Beatrice, your host for this evening. Now, the Namibia University of Science and Technology, NUST, Department of Hospitality and Tourism, is hosting an exciting event to celebrate World Tourism Day on the 27th of September. That's in 2 weeks' time. And that event will be held under the theme Green Investment. Now, to get a bit of an insight into what is planned and what is lined up for this exciting event, we are speaking to Liesl Liebenberg. She is the hotel school manager, and she will share with us what they are planning. Thank you for joining us, Liesl.
Thank you very much.
So, Liesl, can you tell us what exactly is planned and what this is about?
So, every year, the UNWTO celebrates World Tourism Day. This year, that occurs on the 27th of September. And we've decided as a hotel school and a hospitality and tourism department to celebrate this day. UNWTO dictates the theme that occurs every year, and this year their theme is Green Investment. And so it is going to be a day that, as a form of celebration, that's the platform we're using. We're going to be doing a conference where we're going to look at the 7 key aspects that we're going to be looking at regarding green investment and how that can affect tourism and hospitality and the contributions that it can make. So, yes, that's what this is all about, celebrating.
Celebrating. Why green investment, though, and why the emphasis on green? And also share a bit on the 7 topics.
Okay, so green investment is all about sustainability, environmental sustainability. And especially after COVID, there's additional emphasis on environmental sustainability. I just have to also mention the word climate change, and everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. But there really is a need for green investment, not just financially, but we need people to invest sustainably. And tourism and hospitality, as one of the major income earners and drivers of the economy in this country, is part of that. So we are looking at training our students to start thinking green in everything they do. But as we've discovered, a lot of people out there don't really understand what it's all about and don't know what's available to them. And the conference is there to showcase various aspects. So the 7 principles that or aspects that UNWTO is looking at is new innovations, what technologies are available, what is available financially from an investment point of view. There is looking at what role gender equality can play in green investments, what is available for investing in personally, but also in developments from a conservation point of view. So there are various aspects that we will be looking at. And so far we've got some excellent speakers.
Would you be able to share some of them?
I can definitely share a couple of them. We've got Bank Windhoek, who's going to be giving us a presentation on all the different green investments or bonds, is my understanding. I could be corrected though, of what is available for you as a person, how you can get hold of this finance, what you are able to do. Then we have got Div Agri doing a presentation on different and innovative agricultural techniques, but which can be applied to any rural situation and even urban situation. We have Han coming to speak about where we are on the roadmap with regard to training and skills for the hospitality and tourism, and how green investment is needed in there, because as I say, it's about environmental sustainability, but we all have to invest in sustainability, and that's the key word here. And then we've also, as a university, we're going to present our new research topics that we have sat and I'll discuss that a little bit later. We also have a project that's happening in multi-year, where a presentation is going to be done to show how green investment has allowed a community to uplift itself and to contribute sustainably to the tourism industry. We have Prof. Morgan Hopfleisch coming to speak about ecosystem valuations, which are very important. A very sensitive topic. We have Dr. Simon, who's coming to present on hunting and how it's actually a green investment.
Yeah.
EU, take note. And then we also actually have a very interesting presentation on wildlife credits. Just like carbon credits, you get the wildlife credits. A program has been developed, and we're going to hear all about wildlife credits. So right now, this is proving to be very interesting.
Okay, so let's keep the audience on
Yes.
the edge of the chair, so we won't share too much about that.
No, definitely, you've got to come. You've
they
got
have
to come.
So, Liesl, you are in the tourism industry, the hospitality industry. How would you say has COVID-19 pandemic impacted the industry, and what do you think, what are the positives that have, I mean, obviously there are lots of negatives, but are there positives that has come out of this, and can you share some of it?
Well, firstly, the fact that it impacted like it did, research showed, and I think that was globally, but in Namibia as well, nobody was prepared for it. Nobody had ever thought something could happen like this. And research also showed the tenacity of people during COVID, how people came together. There were the horrible stories, true, but there were these rays of sunshine about how people came together to assist. We had tour guides in this country who were without work, but then instead started assisting the Windhoek police at roadblocks, and when there were people flying in on the odd occasion, helping them with safety debriefs before they went any further. We had the restaurateurs in the city of Windhoek coming together and trying to form an organization to assist each other. Lots of restaurateurs got on board during COVID to help make food packages for all the critical staff that were working during COVID. You had people who had incomes, who were carrying family members, who were going out and trying to assist on a voluntary basis because they knew they had the income and they could do that. A lot of new programs started where people were suddenly starting to do things they'd never done before, trying to skill themselves, because it made us realize, no longer, it wasn't good enough to say, I can do this. You must be able, in a situation, to really adapt and be resilient. And I think people who were like that during COVID really weathered the COVID better than other people. A lot of tour companies or tour operators, where they could, they kept their staff. I have stories of where catering companies were taken in by tour operators to redesign their menus for their new season, for their lodges. We, of course, know the environment recovered beautifully for a year where there was no activity.
Yes.
That was very good from an environmental point of view. And although people consider it negatively, it did show us where the gaps were. It did show us where the pressures were. And after COVID, people with a lot of insight are dealing with those gaps and those pressures. They're looking at situations and saying, because it's going to happen again. WTO has said it's going to happen again within the next 8 years. And are we just going to sit and do nothing, or are we going to adapt and move forward and plan better for it? So one good thing that came out of COVID as well was our nomad visa.
Yes, of course.
We had a lot of people coming to this country, escaping their situations there. I personally ran into a couple in Swakopmund who had their baby, got on a plane and got here as fast as possible for 7 weeks. And Namibia made that possible for a lot of people. It really worked in our favor to have the nomad visa. And I think it should be something that's almost like permanent.
Probably. Liesl, how would you say has tourism transformed in the last, 3-4 years?
So globally, we're dealing with new terminologies. We're talking about regenerative tourism. It's no longer good enough that you can just come and do tourism, and it must be sustainable, which is, as we know, with sustainability, tourism must always be sustainable so future generations have the tourism. But with regenerative tourism, which is what we're really looking at now, is to say it mustn't just be there, it must be better than what it was before. And so the different stories and the different avenues that are coming out is where, as a tourist, you come and you no longer just come and view, you actually participate. And yes, you do pay to participate, but it's in the participation that you get that experience. Unknowingly, our backpackers have always been our regenerative tourists. They've always gone into the communities and assimilated themselves in there and really become part of the makeup. But in general, come now and pay to go and be in that community and spend a day in the community herding cattle or creating those tourism experiences where people will walk away and say, this was really good, and I've always wanted to go in a village and make beer or something to that effect.
Yeah.
That's what Uganda's doing with their guerrilla tracking. You love that carpet, well, go and see how it gets made. Go and sit and actually make it to get an understanding of what it's all about, because we don't get that understanding. We just get the snapshot and the good memory.
Yeah. How would you say is artificial intelligence going to change the future for tourism?
In a big way. So one of the aspects that we are doing at NUST is we're looking into virtual tourism. We're developing a virtual tourism module in our curriculum because what has become a reality, and that is the case, is that a lot of people who used to travel may no longer travel because they don't want to develop that carbon footprint that's so expensive, or they might get penalized with a large carbon footprint. We're also looking at quality over quantity. So invariably, there are people that are no longer going to travel by choice, but I also think that there's going to be a lot of people who won't travel because it might become unaffordable. So virtual tourism allows you the opportunity to travel, but while you're sitting in your couch. So you, just to play out a scenario, you can create a virtual tourism center, date night. We go, it's like going to the movies. You go to the virtual tourism center, you put on the goggles. Where do you want to go to today? We want to go to Mauritius. Well, let's go. And you have this experience of walking in the ocean and swimming and having the whole experience, but in reality, you're just sitting there with 3D goggles and having that experience. And they're really advancing it internationally, because they're even starting to develop taste to go with this experience. So
that's not when you eat the
smell. Sorry, smell.
Oh, smell. Oh.
Yes.
Smell the flowers.
Smell the wines. Smell the food. We'll leave all the bad smells out. But so it's really going to be a lot. We're already experiencing AI in hotels where you have paperless check-ins. You can check in and check out online. You can do everything online. It's all AI. It's not, and I know people really push for it in Africa, but we must also realize there is an aspect to it where it can also create even more unemployment. So it really needs a balance. I really don't know if we would do well with automatic vehicles without drivers taking our guests around. I think that would be a no-no in Africa. But
for some time.
Just imagine. But there are various avenues that you can explore with technology that can enhance a program for a tourist. So yes, but we are looking at virtual tourism.
I'm definitely looking forward to what? Going to Zanzibar so we'll eventually. So we'll go for a quick break, Liesl, and we'll be right back.
Yes, thank you.
We'll be right back right now.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraifa. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
Welcome back. Now, if you've just joined us, my name is Jemima Beekes, the host for this evening's evening review show. And in studio, we have Liesl Liebenberg from the Namibia University of Science and Technology, hospitality in this department. Now, she's talking to us about the upcoming World Tourism Day event that they will be having at NUST on the 27th of September. Now, Liesl, can you, you've been talking quite a lot about the future of tourism, how it has been impacted, how it's transforming. Now, with that in mind, can you share with us some of the educational aspects that your department is looking at to motivate your students to go into sustainable tourism?
So we as a hotel school, we are trying to implement programs that will encourage our students to look at sustainability as well as a career in tourism. So when people talk tourism, people talk purely travel agency, tour operator, hospitality. But there's so much more to it. So from a tourism point of view, you can become an environmentalist in tourism where you're working for your hospitality hotel or group, and you become the environmental officer that checks, puts the monitoring plans that are in place. You're checking it, you're describing it to your hotel guests, ensuring that they're buying into whatever you're trying to achieve sustainably. We're looking at technologies that we've implemented at our hotel school so that our students can see these technologies. So we're busy erecting technologies where we will use our kitchen wet waste to create biogas and recycling our wastewater to use again in the gardens where we're growing vegetables and things like that. So we're trying to really bring an aspect to the education, showing technology working with the viewpoint that they need to go out into the industry and start being the change. Mm. People always say, what are we going to do about it? And I look at them and say, I'm far too old, I can't do anything any further. It's your responsibility now. And that's really, we have that responsibility of taking our students forward. It's no longer good enough just to teach them on how to become a tour guide. We've got to teach them on how to become a sustainable tour guide, a sustainable hotelier, a sustainable lodge owner, safari camp, even in the travel agency or in a courier shop, how to be sustainable. There are all different best practices that are being released by UNWTO. HUN is very active on looking at that. Eco Awards, we have a brilliant organization in Winter called Eco Awards where all our hospitality, even our tour guiding can get certification for sustainability practices, and which they really need to look at doing, because overseas, tour operators or companies wanting to book tours to this country are saying, we need to see you sustainable, show us your certification. And Eco Awards does that. They will also be there presenting on the Eco Awards and what they're doing. And they even took it further. They went down to Oranje and they actually did an assessment of the schools there. So we're getting requests from businesses as well to do the certification from Eco Awards. So that's the priority, is to start implementing these technologies for our students. It's no longer good enough that they go out there and then only start learning about the technologies. And that's where we're hoping to work with industry as well, to say to industry, look, let's take hands, come and demonstrate your technologies. Let's put up your technologies, which is what DivAgri has done. We're in a big EEU project with DivAgri, and we've now looked at implementing those technologies at the hotel school. And although it's considered agricultural technologies, all of these can be implemented within the tourism and hospitality sector, at safari camps, even at a hotel. We're doing it there at the hotel school. So it is really important that we can get people who are looking, who've got sustainable technology, to partner up with universities and say, let's put the technology out there. Let your students see what's available, because then they go out and they just this walking knowledge of wanting to implement sustainability. And there's a lot of companies who either don't have the time, don't have the interest, don't know how to even go about it. But if you're going to employ a young student who's got that, and they're on fire for it, let them lead the way.
Speaking about companies, can you talk to us about some of the relations you as a department and university has fostered to obviously promote green tourism, and also to make sure these students are put out there?
Okay, so what we're doing is obviously there's certain areas that we've got to look at, and only really our third years get to go out and do internships. And so there are companies who have taken our hand and they will take our students in for internships. And we're specifically looking at companies who are being sustainable, so that our students can actually take on and see what it is to be sustainable. We've got as I say, with the DivAgri project, we're working with our students on that project. We've got other projects going with where we had with GIZ a project. They had a project going where they were putting together a whole recipe book on how to cook local cuisine, trying to bring back local cooking to Namibians, because it's indigenous knowledge that we seem to be losing. And our students were used in that project on how to teach how to cook that local food, again, because the communities couldn't remember and weren't sure. So there's all these different little projects, and there's a lot of them occurring, not just with NUST, but with all the universities on sustainability. So, yeah.
Lastly, before we go out there, there's obviously a very high unemployment rate in the country. Do you think in the tourism industry, graduates are struggling to find jobs when they graduate?
I do, yes. I personally have worked with students who are struggling to find employment. I think, so obviously a lot of people lost their jobs during during COVID, sorry, apologies.
Yes.
And what people have to realize is that, especially in the rural areas, a lot of those people are from the community. So when lodges reopened and restarted, there was the obligation and the loyalty to take back the staff that had lost their jobs first. A need was created or identified for basic skills training, because that did show us, COVID showed us that gap. And a lot of money has been pushed into the industry for basic skills training, especially in hospitality and tourism. But what we do find is that there is a lot of that now, but it's the more intermediate to management levels that are requiring more staff. So, for instance, looking for a qualified chef. It is difficult finding a qualified chef in this country. we don't have proper sommeliers in this country. To find proper baristas and sommeliers, it's all advanced training that is required. And there are certain gaps that need to be filled, which is not necessarily basic skills, but more advanced training. So, and a lot of our students have gone out and haven't been able to find employment simply because I'm going out on a limb when I've spoken with the students, is where the students have said, well, the salaries being offered for a student coming out with a bachelor's degree is a salary you would offer with somebody who's not skilled. So they come out with a bachelor's degree, and they would also like to work front office, but they'd like to get paid because they have a degree.
Tell me, Liesl.
So there is this little bit of a discrepancy that we still as an industry have to wade through. We have to do these exercises and go through them to really see where it's not working.
All right. Just before we wrap up, these advanced skills, are they available locally, like barista, sommeliers?
They're currently not available in Namibia. I think those are some of the gaps that have been identified. And for instance, I think there are companies coming in from other countries
To train?
to offer these courses. But again, you know, we must just understand something here. Every training institution in this country has to go through a process of NQA and NTA. You can't just open a training institution and offer courses because there's no guarantee for the student that they're actually then going to get certified. You cannot offer a certificate course, short course in this country if it hasn't been supported by the NTA and it's on the framework through the NQA. Yet we find a lot of people just opening up training academies, offering these short courses, and certainly in gaps that need to be filled. But the student is at risk as well. So, and I understand they say, but there's nowhere else to do it. But this is why also we've and we'll present it at the conference, is from a university point of view, we had the first ever workshop at our university, and I don't think anyone else has done it, where we actually went through the whole Delphi method of identifying research that needs to be conducted for tourism and hospitality in Namibia. When we look at research output for our industry, it's very low. And we need to be researching a lot more to guide industry on really what is needed and what is going on. So we as a department went through that whole exercise, and we have actually identified 8 what we call critical research areas for Namibia in hospitality and tourism. And Dr. Manuel will be discussing that at the conference. But at the conference, we're also going to have Gita from HUN, where the initiative was started through HUN to look at a training roadmap for Namibia. And she's going to be looking at that and discussing the progress that has been made. And so the industry has started identifying the fact that we do need to look at these situations and start addressing them.
Quite a lot of work you seem to have put in there. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the industry has really stepped up to the plate.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us
It's
here
a pleasure.
and sharing your information with us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. Have a good night.